We're joined today by the Freedom Front Plus leader, Mr. Pieter Groenewald. Thank you very much for your time and for joining us here at News 24. You are smiling. I'm sure you're very happy with what you see on the leaderboard here at the IEC Results Operations Center.
Yes, I am smiling. You're quite right, and I am very pleased. When we start with the election, I said that we will be very, very happy if we could double our number of councillors, and we already did that. We more than doubled it. And if you also look at the percentage and you compare it to the 2016 results, we are doing very well. So yes, we are very happy about it. And I want to thank the voters of South Africa voting and supporting the Freedom Front Plus.
All right, I'm joined also by my colleague Jan Gerber, who is a News 24 senior political writer. You've been tracking the Freedom Front Plus. What are you seeing, and do you have any questions for Mr. Groenewald?
Yes, the obvious question is coalitions. There's already a lot of hung councils in many municipalities, especially in the Western Cape. The Freedom Front Plus will be the kingmakers. What is your approach going into coalition talks?
Well, firstly, I want to start to say that I want to re-emphasize that we will not go in any coalition with the ANC or the EFF, or even where there is a coalition with other parties, say for instance between the DA and the ANC, we will also not be part of that coalition. So that we are quite clear as far as that is concerned. We will look at all other political parties. We've already been in coalitions with the DA, so we will go in a coalition with the DA. We don't have a problem as far as that is concerned. And what is interesting, there are numerous new organizations that registered as political parties, ratepayers associations and all that type of organizations, and we will have to look at their manifestos to see what their principles are, and then we will make an evaluation on that to see whether we will go in a coalition where they are also involved. So that's our approach. And what I want to say about coalitions, I also said in the beginning of this election, South Africa is entering the new political era of coalitions. And the main reason for that is because of the proportional electoral system.
In Modimolle, in Limpopo, the Freedom Front Plus was in a coalition with the Democratic Alliance as well as the EFF. You're not going to do that again?
The EFF was not officially part of the coalition.
Right.
They had an informal sort of arrangement between the DA.
And you were fine with that?
Well, this time we will reconsider. I want to be quite honest as far as that is concerned. So it was not part of the coalition. But I say again, we will have to see which hang municipalities we can play a major role. But say for instance, we are not part of the coalition, but say for instance we're still the kingmaker, then we still can play the role in the best interest of the electorate, because if we're the kingmaker, it depends what the resolution is on the table in the council meeting, and then we can make a decision. And if we are the kingmaker, we're going to decide whether it is in the best interest of the electorate or not, or the taxpayers. So you don't really need to be part of a formal coalition to ensure that the way you deal with certain resolutions is not in the best interest of the electorate.
You spoke about the Democratic Alliance, who work with them. A lot of people are interpreting the results, your growth in this election, as votes taken back from or taken away from the Democratic Alliance. How do you read it?
Well, firstly, yes, we took some of them, but it's a wrong perception to think that all the gains is from the Democratic Alliance. The members of the Freedom Front Plus worked very hard to ensure that people register for the election, and there are quite a lot of new voters who were not even registered as voters, who did go and register and voted for the Freedom Front Plus. So it's not just a matter that we are taking the votes from the DA. So it is more than that. And even in some communities, for instance, they see the Freedom Front Plus in a different view, and then they decided to vote for the Freedom Front Plus.
Yeah.
One of the trends we've seen is that the Freedom Front Plus grew in some of the worst municipalities in the country. You will be the official opposition in Qaanitah, a very, very troubled municipality.
That's Costa. That includes
Yeah,
Costa.
Costa and Swartruggens, yes.
Swartruggens ook.
Yeah. What will be the Freedom Front's approach in municipalities like that, where you may be in a coalition or as the opposition, to ensure that these municipalities improve? What will be the focus for the Freedom Front Plus in those municipalities?
Yeah. Well, if we're part of a coalition, we must improve the services. And that's what we also said in our campaign the whole time. And with great respect, I think the Freedom Front Plus is one of the very few political parties that really focused on local government issues. Even our slogan say, stop the decay. And then we said, how are we going to do it? For instance, we said that we will have to do an audit on all the employees to see whether they are qualified, because the Auditor General said that 43% of employees in municipalities are not qualified to do the job they are supposed to do. 48% of chief financial officers, according to the Auditor General, is not qualified to do the job. And that's one of the first things we will do. We will do a proper audit, and we will be part, if we're in a formal coalition, will be part of an agreement with whoever the other coalition partners are, and that will be included there, so that we at least ensure that we have the correct people who can do the job, because that's the only way you can start stopping the decay. And then, of course, you will also look at financial management. Just to take one example, the national government gave money for 10 million households for free electricity, but only 2 million are receiving it. So we will have to go and look into those municipalities. Are there some of those people who are supposed to receive those monies for free electricity, but they don't receive it, and why not? And I see that as part of corruption. So those are a few examples I'm mentioning that we will specifically look into, to say we must do something drastically to ensure that we stop the decay and then start building up to improve service delivery.
All right, Mr. Groenewald, just lastly from our end, I wanted to talk to you about just I'm looking at any update. It's now 49 hung municipalities. If you could just comment broadly on your approach in the talks. Has anyone phoned you yet? Any other political parties have? If you could just talk about that, and what comes next.
Right. We didn't receive any calls officially from any political party. I know some of the members are talking amongst themselves, but as leaders, I didn't receive any calls and I didn't speak to anyone. Okay. But I think everybody is waiting to see the final results. As you said, 49 hung municipalities, and I foresee by later this evening or even tonight, there will talks start taking place and say, listen, we are interested, are you available, or what the situation be? So that's where the process is at the moment. And of course, what happens is that you talk with each other, you decide which certain issues are very important, like I've mentioned in our manifesto, and then you see where that you can meet each other. And if we agree and reach an agreement, the Freedom Front Plus, we will insist that it will be a formal.
Okay, so a written
formal
document.
Written
which
agreement.
will it be public?
Yes, of course. Why not? I foresee that it should actually be public and be available to the electorate, so that they can see, well, this is what this coalition government said they are going to look at, and if they do not comply to that, then they must punish it. Those political parties who do not comply to that. So that is important. I think it must be transparent, it must be public available to the electorate.
All right, thank you very much. That was Freedom Front Plus leader Pieter Groenewald. Thank you very much for your time.